Good morning. My name's Beth Warren, and I'm the advisor at the Brunswick FCCLA in Brunswick, Missouri. I've been advising at that school for 10 years, and then I had experience at one other school for 2 years. So today we're going to talk about promoting and publicizing your FCCLA chapter. And I want to start off by asking, how do you publicize your chapter? At this point, I would stop and get feedback from the people involved and talk about what they do for a few minutes and then continue with the presentation. Okay, why is it important to promote and publicize your FCCLA chapter? First of all, you need to let people know what you're doing within your chapter and within your fax department. At least in the state of Missouri, a lot of fax departments are getting cut, and by letting the community know what's going on in your department, you will have community support and maybe be able to save your department if you're one of them who's considering being cut. You get support for your chapter. People who know what you're doing and know that you're active are going to be willing to support you. If you have a fundraiser and people haven't heard of your chapter and don't know what you do, it's going to be harder for your kids to raise the funds, to do the things that you need to do as a chapter, and to go to the conferences and to support your chapter financially, as well as gaining support so when people see your students on the street, you want them to know that this student right here got a gold medal at regional star events last week or 2 weeks ago, and people in your community will congratulate them when they see them, if they know what's going on. When your students see their name in writing in the newspaper, or hear their name on the radio, or see their name in the school newspaper, it gives them a sense of pride and accomplishment, and it makes them want to be much more active in your chapter. So the more that you can publicize, the more you can get your students' names out there, get pictures of your students out there, and let the community know what they're doing, the better off your chapter will be. Okay, when should you publicize your chapter? Every single day. When you see somebody in the grocery store, hey, do you know what my students are doing this week? Well, we have star events coming up. Would you like to come see the presentations and give them feedback? Let people know what you're doing. In your newspaper, if your newspaper is weekly, bi-weekly, try to have an article or something in there every week. It doesn't have to be a long article. It might be just something about FCCLA promotes safe driving. FCCLA is having their fundraiser right now. Please support us. Let people know what you're doing. If you have a school newspaper, you should have something in every single issue. It may be a highlight on your chapter officers. It may be a calendar of what's going on. But you need to make sure that people are aware of what's going on. Bulletin boards for promoting your chapter. You have your local newspaper. You should be in every issue of your newspaper if it comes out less than once a week. If it's a daily newspaper, I wouldn't strive for it every day. But once a week, once every other week, make sure that people know what's going on. Your signboard at school, we have one of those electronic signboards on the front of our school. Put FCCLA on there. It may just be FCCLA says don't text and drive. FCCLA says use your seatbelt. But get your name out there. School newsletter. You should have something in every issue of your school newsletter. It might be an officer interview, an officer highlight, star events is coming up, pictures. Make sure you are out there. Community bulletin boards. Offer to do the background on community bulletin board and put, done by FCCLA. Department newsletters. Do a newsletter for your department. On one side, have a list of each of your classes and tell people what you're doing in your classes. Put pictures of projects your students are doing. On the other side, make it FCCLA. That way people will get the connection between your fax department and your FCCLA. Make sure you have plenty of copies available, and we'll talk about that more in a few minutes. Community organizations, churches, alumni associates. These are all great places where you can get publicity and you can promote your FCCLA chapter. Okay, in the newspaper, who is responsible for writing the articles? You can assign an article to each officer, have an officer do the month. If you want to have your reporter do all of them, that's fine too, but that's a lot of work for one person to do. Assign events to the officers, or if you have star events, have the kids doing the event. Write an article for the newspaper. Have your regional officers write about your regional events, what's going on in the region. State officers, state events. National officers, national events. But get the kids to write the articles. Now, never, ever, ever send anything to the newspaper without you going over it and proofing it and helping the students edit, because you want to make sure that it looks professional, it reads professional, it has correct grammar and punctuation, and that's your responsibility as an advisor. But let the kids do the writing, because they need that experience. They need that. Make sure everything you do is on your school signboard. Assign a student the responsibility for doing the signboard, or make a calendar and have a different person do it every week. This doesn't need to only be your officer's responsibility. Get your members involved. Have everybody take a turn. Put up public service announcements. FCCLA says buckle up. FCCLA says don't text and drive. FCCLA says buckle your child in safely. Use car safety seats. Any of those things are good because you have your FCCLA name up there. A school newsletter. You should have an article in every single issue of your school newsletter. It can be a highlight of the officers. It can be about an event you're going to have, and when you've had the event, make sure you get pictures in there of people enjoying themselves and what you've done. If you don't promote your program and you don't promote your FCCLA, nobody else is going to do it for you. Make sure you get as many student names in your newsletters as possible and in your school newsletter in the newspaper, because parents like seeing their kids' names in print and people like seeing their own name in print. So it's very important to make sure that you do that. Now, you also need to make sure that you're aware of your school policies as printing pictures and printing student names, because in our school, the parents have to give you permission to do that. So you need to make sure that you follow any school district policies that you may have for that. Bulletin boards, I mentioned that you can do the bulletin boards in your school. Do your community bulletin boards. Offer to do church bulletin boards for them. A lot of churches have bulletin boards that they just stick things up on because nobody has the time to create a nice looking bulletin board, and then just put a sign on it. Bulletin board created by Brunswick FCCLA. People will let you do for them if you ask. And every time you can get your name out there where people are going to see it when they look at a bulletin board or they look at an announcement, the better off you're going to be. Department newsletters. I already mentioned that you can put your department on one side and FCC on the other. But how do you distribute them? Mail them to the parents of the students you have in class. Mail them to the parents of your FCCLA members. Mail them to your school board so that they know what you're doing, because you will have their support, and mail them to your alumni and associates. I take stacks of our newsletter to the nursing homes, to the grocery store. We have a restaurant in town where everybody gathers in the morning. I put a stack in there. You can put it in the bank, your school office, anywhere that people gather that they pick one up and take it home and read it, so that they know what your FCCLA's chapter is doing and what your department's doing. Right, community organizations. Contact the organizations in your community and offer to put on a program for them. The majority of organizations, when they meet, have some kind of a guest speaker. This is an excellent opportunity for your STAR event students to present their STAR event and get feedback. People like seeing what the students are doing in school. In our community, we have ladies clubs, we have a Lions Club, we have Rotary, we have Knights of Columbus, we have several women's sororities, you have a nursing home in our community. They love to see what the kids are doing. So, number one, at the beginning of the year, say, hey, this is the FCCLA, this is what we're doing. Once they know what you're doing, they're going to want to help you if they can. Have them view your STAR events. Have your kids get involved with what they're doing. Every time you can get your kids out there for these people to see what they're doing and see that they give nice professional presentations, the better off you're going to be. Churches. I know church and school separation can be a tricky thing, but they want to help you. Ask the church groups if they will view STAR events. We have a minister in town that just comes in and will look at our kids' STAR events and give them public speaking feedback. We had a carnival when the tornado hit in Joplin, Missouri, and the churches, all the ladies in the churches brought cakes for our cakewalk and cakes for our concession stand. If you ask them, they will help you. My school's hosting STAR events this year, and I'm going to ask the church ladies to take care of the hospitality room for me. That's one thing I'm not going to have to worry about, that I know that they will do a nice job. In return, We can offer to help the churches when they have fundraising dinners. Have the kids wear their FCCLA polos and their black slacks or their khaki slacks. Offer to help serve. Offer if the church is doing a community service project. Hey, can we help you out? Because I live in a small town. And for our churches to do a big project, a lot of them don't have enough people to do what they need to do, and they're asking other people to help. Get out there, help them. It gives your organization a good name. Alumni and Associates. Make sure your Alumni and Associates chapter knows what you're doing. The key is communication. Keep them involved. Help them help. Let them help with your star events. Let them come to your FCCLA function. Let them help with your fundraisers. The more involved you can get them, the more active they will be. Our Alumni and Associates in the summers, we do hot dog stands down by the grocery store. We make about $300 a day selling hot dogs and potato chips and a pop on the street corner to people that go by. The Alumni Associates helps with that. The Alumni Associates will help with our fundraisers. They'll do whatever we ask. In turn, the money that they raise gives us money so we can help kids pay for meals when we travel. They help pay for registrations when we travel if our chapter's short. They're very, very supportive, and by keeping them involved and letting them know what we're doing, we get more people wanting to be involved. Okay, now at this time what we're going to do is we're going to break up into small groups and you're going to work at your tables, and I'd like for each person to develop a publicity plan for your chapter for the year. You can do it by month. If you want to break it down as far as week, you can. I'm here. Please ask me for help. And about the last 10-15 minutes of the time that we have together, we're going to ask some of you to share your publicity plans. So go ahead and get to work and holler if there's anything I can do to help you. Thank you.